You're all set.
Thank you very much. All right, motion to open the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Tom. Aye, Steve.
Hi, Joe.
And
Aye,
aye, Peter and
Peter.
Joe. Okay, it's unanimous. Let's open the call. Please be advised, this is an open meeting and it is being broadcast live and we're recorded by WRPS for playback on YouTube. Okay, so the first item on our agenda is the minutes approval. Steve, do we have minutes?
I do not have minutes. Motion to pass over item 1.
Okay,
Second.
can I get a second? Second, Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Tom, Joe, Steve,
Joe.
Peter, aye.
and Peter. Okay, unanimous. Okay, next item is election of officers. So, Steve, I know we're talking about Derek here, but I didn't know if we also were talking about all offices. So I'm not sure what these, the full.
So I put it up there kind of just to have a group discussion about it because I didn't know what direction the board wanted to go. Right now, we do not have a chair. We have a vice chair and John and the secretary and myself. That'll be wise to open it up for discussion for the group.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions? No. So obviously Derek resigned as chair. So we'll be looking to vote a new chair. Is anybody interested, I guess, in being the chair? Steve? I'm just going to go down the list. Yes or no?
No, so I think it's important that we maintain at least the 3. Well, we have 4 positions. I'm sorry, Tom's the treasurer.
Yeah.
I think it's important to maintain a chair and a vice chair in case the chair can't make it. We can continue on with meetings. If you're up for it, John, I'm happy to nominate you for chair.
Second.
Thanks, Joe and Steve. Yeah, I don't know if I'm really up for chair.
Okay.
And I only say that because, I'm not as involved as I would like to be or have the time to be. Derek was obviously a great chair for this group because he was so knowledgeable about everything and so passionate about the cause. I am passionate about the cause. I'm not as knowledgeable about everything. So, I'm currently vice chair and I don't even know if I'm really doing the best job as being vice chair. So being chair would be a bit of a jump, I think. Certainly would be interested to see if anyone else on the board that's not one of the 3 positions that we already have would be interested in that. Obviously, we're missing a few from tonight. So that would be fine.
Steve, are you interested? I think you're very capable of doing this job and knowledgeable.
Thank you for that, Joe. If there are no other takers, I'd be happy to step up. I would complete the secretary duties that are before me, finishing those minutes that are due. But if that's the case, then I would look for us to get a new secretary to manage minutes because it is difficult to run a meeting as well as try to take those notes and as be comprehensive as possible. I think with YouTube being out there and it being available for us to go back to it, maybe it's not as important to take such copious notes. But if and when we get back to in person, it will be a requirement to take those notes.
I thought we had discussed getting a secretary and hire one. Where are we at with that?
Haven't made any progress on that.
Yeah, we did discuss that at the last meeting, spending some of our admin budget to, have someone like a secretary to take minutes. Now, I don't know if that's in lieu of the actual position or if that's just additional support.
think it's
I
additional
believe it-
support. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, and I think we probably should run that by Doug and get this locked up and get the person on board. Because I think having someone that's getting paid, I think we appropriated funds for that. Am I right, Tom?
We have what, was it 35,000?
No. I think it was like 3,500. I think it might have been
For a whole year?
for a whole year.
I have to
Just-
look.
Just to take minutes of our meeting. It might have been less. I'm not even sure.
Well, I think what we're probably referring to is the bucket of money we put as our admin budget, which I think is probably closer to the 25,000 that Tom's talking about. Whether or not we don't use that all for someone taking notes, but that's what we put there.
Did we even discuss like what an hourly wage would be? And
I
don't
believe I think we did start the process. With not having minutes right now, I can't go back and look. But if my memory serves me right, I think we did discuss it and we were going to go forward with it.
Yeah, we did definitely discuss it. So I guess, I don't think Derek has done anything with that, but we can check with Doug. I think that would probably be the best start. Steve, you and I can, I guess, kind of follow up on that and just see what we can do for the process. I didn't think of your idea, but since these all have been on YouTube TV, I can go back and, put some together if you don't have them or you don't have the time.
The ones that I don't have my own notes on are really anything prior to me being elected secretary, which I think was July of this year. Derek had asked me to go back to those YouTube recordings and use those to get. I think we're a year overdue. Essentially, last February's meeting is the last meeting we do not have minutes for. So I think the previous meeting, January, is the last meeting we do have minutes for.
So can we just table the secretary part and just move on with chairman? Voting on chairman?
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion if Steve's in favor of taking on this responsibility. I'll make it a motion.
second,
Okay, we'll just do a roll call here then. All in favor, Tom,
aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
I as well. So that's, Steve, I don't think you vote.
Yeah, I
but
don't know if it's appropriate for me to vote on that, but
that's 4, I guess. Is that a win? Unanimous?
He can vote for himself.
aye.
Okay, well, thank you, Steve. I think I
Just on the
agree with
notes
Joe.
there. Tom, you have the second there?
What do you want? I'm sorry.
Were you the second on that? I know Joe was.
Yes,
Yes.
I was.
Yes. But I echo what Joe said earlier, Steve. I mean, I think you'd be a great candidate. You are pretty in touch with what's going on in the town. Still happy to assist as much as I can. Thank you for stepping up. Okay, the next item on the docket here was membership term review.
Yeah, I have something for that. I just want to switch to Bluetooth because my kids just ran in the door.
Sure.
John,
Yes.
I think where we just voted, Steve, and I think you should turn it over to Steve, I believe.
Okay, that sounds great to me. Do that.
I think that's what we have to do.
Joe, you're right.
All right, Steve. Good luck.
Nice. Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. So yeah, membership term review. The town clerk had reached out just to make sure that we are on the up and up for, re-nominating members. And so I have the page up and we can review that. And it's good, I think, to review this every once in a while anyway, just so folks know when their term is up. So if they're going to go to if they're a board appointed position, they need to go to their board and get re-nominated for that position and go to the town clerk and attest. And then for those of us that are at-large members approved by the Board of Selectmen, we'll need to do that. So like if you look at myself, I am due in June, so I'll have to start going through that. Tom, I did watch part of the selectmen meeting on Tuesday this week, and I know you were just reappointed in historical commission. Did you guys discuss at your last meeting about reappointment for CPA?
Yeah, nobody else will do it.
Well, we like having you around.
Yeah, I have to, so Sue I had told me that I'm all set, but I need to come down to town hall and do the swearing in at the town clerk again. So
Okay.
what is it, next Tuesday? They're open late, so I gotta go and do it then, I think.
Okay. You appointed by historical. Needs to be sworn.
Steve, I think my term was just up this past year because Liza did call me up from the clerk's office and I had to go up there and get sworn in.
Yeah, you're renewed through 2024. You're good.
Right.
Charlie is good. Both Charlie and I actually need to have the same term end date of June 2nd, 2022. John Conway is not here tonight. Will need to be reappointed before October 3rd. And then the next up, Derek is an at-large member, as is John. But you guys have another year. And Joe, you're from Parks. You'll need to. be
Yes, when
renewed.
am I up again?
October 2023. So you got a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, some of these are a year appointments. Some of these are a multi-year appointments.
Yeah, I have to
Housing.
be reappointed by park commission and
Yeah.
commissioners.
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah, and Pete, you're an at-large member, so it would be Board of Selectmen, but you get time. It looks like you just did it last year, so you're all set. All right, so Tom, you'll get that done. I think in lieu of it, I can't imagine that it really creates a conflict here. I think we all think you're doing a great job as treasurer and as a member of the board, and to continue to work in the meantime, I think would be fine.
We know anything with the Conservation Commission there about that
So I
position?
have, yeah, it's like, thank you. So I did mention to the town clerk that we are still waiting for Conservation Commission to appoint. You know, our previous member did have difficulty getting to these meetings, and it has since lapsed. They are a year to year as well. And so they're going to be, anyone they appoint now is going to have to be reappointed in May or June of this year. But I have asked the town clerk to visit with Conservation Commission and kind of prod them for membership, and that's how we got housing to get a member on board. They pushed them on it. So the new town clerk is really going after any of these committees that have a requirement to appoint to other boards and committees. So hopefully we'll see some action on that, because I think it is important to have representation from these boards and committees. Any other comment on this?
Looks good. Once we get Tom's name on there, we'll look good.
Yes. All right, next up is Copley Gardens. We had reviewed the pre-application a couple of months ago. We do have Noel Humphreys here from NeighborWorks Housing Solutions. They maintain Copley Gardens. I do have their, if you remember, in the summertime, they submitted an emergency app. It was backed by Jen Constable. But we said, it didn't really come to the level of emergency, and Noel agreed at the time. And at the time we asked her to go back and refine the application to meet the standards, because it was a little bit more ambiguous on the first pass. So we did get a new one in October. We reviewed the pre-application, and Noel, I have your full application submission here.
Right.
You can see that screen, all right? And I'll go ahead and go down. There's a lot to this, and I know you guys did put a lot of work into this.
And Steve, that might be, it looks like that's the second part of it.
Okay.
If you have the other, is the other piece, yeah, that's like the developer profiles and so forth. But I think if you look at it's probably in the first email, it has like the full, yeah, that third attachment where you can see that
Right here?
picture.
Perfect.
Yep.
Give me a second here, I'll pull that up. Part one, right? Yeah. there it is.
Yes. Yep.
All right,
Yep.
I'll turn it over to you and we'll hold questions to the end. That's all right, guys.
Okay, that sounds good. So thank you all again for having me and having NeighborWorks come to this for your consideration. I know we talked, I think it was mid-December about the project and sort of a fine-tuned application. So what we have is Copley Gardens. It's located at 105 Market Street in Rockland, owned by us, NeighborWorks Housing Solutions. It's been owned and part of our portfolio since the late 1990s. NeighborWorks, as Rob mentioned previously, is a local nonprofit that does a lot of work with local residents and both in Rockland throughout the South Shore. Our territory is about 72 towns, I believe, but we focus primarily in the areas around here. So Abington, Rockland, Quincy, Braintree, Hanson, Kingston, et cetera. We are looking to request funds from the CPA committee or the CPC to both produce 10 new units of affordable housing, as well as completely renovate 5 units to make them fully accessible and up to code pursuant to current ADA code. And outside of that, the units, the affordability ranges from a limit of 60% of the area median income, which would be the cap, to also some more deeply affordable units, which are approximately 30% of area median income. And just as a reminder, the 83 units initially out of those 62 were affordable. And as I'm mentioning, we're creating 10 new affordable units. So there'll be 72 affordable and then 11 unrestricted will remain. And I may just, I think I'll turn it over to questions. Unless, you know, in that way you guys can just, I know you've heard about the project previously. One other thing I will mention is that, as you know, we are under construction and we're looking to a May completion. It could stretch a little bit further than that, but that's where we're at right now.
All right, I just want to reiterate, and we talked about in December was, you know, funding wouldn't be available until, you know, town meetings held in the new fiscal year, which begins in July. And one thing to note here, and we're going to actually have it in a later agenda item because this came up on another project, is that vendors need to submit bills directly to us for payment. I don't believe it can come through. We can't reimburse NeighborWorks, so maybe we could. We have to look into it if you have receipts to go along with them. We did have another project that just sent us kind of a letter with, you know, we want this money for, you know, for this grant.
Okay. Yep.
So we need receipts to back that up. So when you do submit that, you know, I'll say my piece and I'll turn it over. I think it's a good project. I think that it's great that we're narrowing it down to this funding to help with 10 new affordable housing units and updating ADA compliance in 5 units. I think that checks the boxes more so than, you know, the entire project as a whole. And so I'd like to hear what everyone else has to say.
I definitely like the idea of going up to 10. I think after you've reapplied and nailed down the specifics, I'm all in favor of doing this.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to just point out, obviously, Rockland, we need more affordable housing. So I think the idea here that we're adding 10 units is good for the town overall. So I don't have any other comments besides what we talked about last time, but it's certainly something the town needs.
Taking notes, guys. Peter, Tom, any comment?
This sounds good to me.
No, same here, Steve. Like Joe, you know, to reiterate what Joe said, after it was narrowed down and penciled off, I'm good with all of it. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's important. You know, we don't see a lot of housing projects, at least my time here on the committee. So I think it's great that we're utilizing some of these funds that are earmarked for housing to provide more affordable units for the prospective citizens of Rockland. All right, so we'll do I'll entertain a motion to accept the application as submitted and move forward to town meeting for the people to vote.
Motion to accept.
Second,
Joe Reese in favor.
Peter in favor.
Tom Reagan in favor.
see in favor.
Steve O'Donnell, that's an aye for me. Good luck with the rest of your project, Noel. Any
Great, thank
questions,
you.
feel free to reach out.
Okay.
We'll, stay tuned for the town meeting vote, but we'll
Yep.
work to get the articles written and presented for the people of Rockland.
Great, sounds good. And just a couple of things. So Steve, you did mention about the invoices, so I can work with you on that. That won't be an
Mhm.
issue. And then just on the town meeting did you say that's in the spring? Is that in April or
Yeah, it's
is that
typically in
later?
April.
Okay. All right, perfect.
In April.
Okay, well, thank you all for your time. We appreciate it. And we look forward to completing. We'll get some invitations out when that time comes. So thanks again and have a good night. We'll talk
Thanks,
soon.
Noel.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Noel.
Bye-bye.
Nicole, don't go nowhere. Are
No,
you gonna attend the town meeting in case people need explanation of what's going on with the project?
sure. Yeah, we can definitely attend, or I can attend. Is that, if that's what you guys would typically do, then that's not a problem at all on our end.
I think it does help.
You
It
think
helps with those questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll
Yep.
communicate, once I know that date, for sure, Noel, I'll communicate it to you.
Okay,
It's
that'd be
typically at
perfect.
the Rockland High School auditorium.
Okay,
And
great.
yeah, if anything comes up, sometimes they don't, sometimes it's, there are no questions and people just vote for it.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Yeah.
I assume
It's
so.
just
Yeah.
whatever
that's
the
fine.
attitude of the day is.
Yeah, no worries. That's good. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay,
Thanks,
I'll be
Joe.
in touch. All right, thanks
All
so
right,
much.
thank
Have a
you.
good night.
You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Unanimous. Good. The next item I put on here, McCarthy Farm discussion. Obviously, this is a very big project that went through last year and was officially purchased by the town of Rockland. I understand there was a walkthrough with open space and parks. Wanted to give an opportunity for some additional discussion and potentially some ideas for how we could use funds in the future, CPA funds in the future, because it is eligible because it was purchased in part with CPA funds, on what we may think for submission for really next fiscal year. I want to open up for discussion.
Steve, I'd like to start if I may.
Mhm.
I did the walkthrough with the group. The place is great. There's a few sheds up there. There's a barn. The building inspector, Tom Robo, was with us as well. Structurally, a couple of them aren't bad at all. And that's, Tom Robo even said that. They need TLC, a lot of it on one of them, but I think we should maybe have Donald Kahn on the next agenda, because
Okay.
there's talks about they've got to be ripped down, and I don't know if it has to do with open space conservation or what the issue is, but I can't see ripping down. Like I said, the barn was in good shape, and there was a small shed that the lock was on it, and the lock even relocked, and the key was in it. And that was right by an old garden area right there. I think the garden area was probably 60 by 60, roughly around there. And I just can't see taking those things down, but I know there was some reasoning for it. I just don't understand what it was.
Okay.
But I'd love to leave those up if possible, even just to leave hand tools and things like that, just to keep up with help maintaining it, whoever could get up there. But that's a question for, like I said, Donald Kahn, I believe.
Steve, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, after Pete did that walkthrough with a lot of people, it was more than just a few. I think it was like 7 of them that walked through. When I heard Pete's report on on the structures. And then why don't we try to save these then? You know, some of them need roofs, button up the windows, the doors, stuff like that. And down the road, we could put CPA funds into these buildings, I believe, because that was an historical place, I believe, because of the brick company. And for the use of the place, trails, whatever they're planning on, this could be a great opportunity to save a very nice piece of history, if possible. I like to have a letter written, sent to the selectmen and the open space with concern on possibly saving, if this is everyone's opinion, and go from there. With the grants they got for this property, I don't see why they would have to tear them down, but I don't know all the details of that grant. But I like to try to save the buildings personally. I haven't seen them. Donald Kahn said after the snow melts that we can take another walk through. I like to
Okay.
see it myself.
Yeah, I'd love to go see that. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's our next step is we'll invite Donald Kahn and anyone else from open space who wants to attend our next meeting. Have a conversation with them about their thoughts for the property. Get some more ideas on, you know, how we can help make that, you know, really another nice park for the citizens of Rockland, and really understand what, you know, why those things were mentioned about tearing down the buildings if they're not in disrepair.
The biggest thing right now is a right of way. We did get permission from a lady. If you're looking at the lot, she lives to the right of it. She did say we could skirt her land at the front of her land, and it looks like an old fire road out there. You could see where the brush growth wasn't so grown up as the rest of it. But she did say that, you know, we could get out there at least originally to clear some things out, because I mean, there's even a trailer truck out there, like a 40-foot or a 50-foot box out there that has to go away. And I know the house that's up there, up on the right on the main drive, that is up for sale.
It
But
just dropped
I
in
don't know.
price today too.
What's that?
It dropped about 40,000 in price.
Really?
Yeah, it's
But I mean,
like 355 now, I think.
I mean, ideally, that would be the ticket right there, and that would give us some parking up there, because once you get up there, it is nice. It's a nice pine grove. There's a fire pit out there, a fireplace, and a small spring-fed pond where they were actively pumping water out of it for the gardens. And there was a pump in one of the sheds that was coming from the pond, and there was also a pump in the garage that I imagine they fed the animals with. I just can't see it. I mean, we could get a true right of way up there, somehow purchase that house or something, then the taxpayers would have, you know, easy access to it instead of just parking in that small lot in the front of it that's probably 30 by 30 and trudging through the brush.
Plus, it's additional acres. I believe it's a little under 4, if I'm right, Steve.
Pull it up. Let's
On
pull it up.
We do own it now. I mean, any of us at any time, if anybody's got free time, can take a park down below and walk up through there and see it all.
That didn't work. I don't know why it's not coming up. Unless someone jumped on it today. I know I saw it this morning. There it is.
359, yeah.
359, yeah, dropped 40.9 today. That's the this is the property now. It's nice. I tried convincing my wife to sell my house and buy it. She said it was too much work.
Oh,
So,
Nice little farmhouse.
you know, this is too late to even talk about now, but I wish that we had done something with 393 Union Street, which, you know, I think it sold at auction for 300,000, and I just saw a big box dumpster next to it. They're just gutting it. It's too bad because, like, you know, all the literature about the town, they have a picture of this house, you know, and God knows what's going to happen to it.
That's too bad.
I mean, all the buildings out there, especially that barn, they were, you know, true 2x4s and heavy 8x8 timbers, and it's just, you know, beautiful looking wood.
does it say how much more acreage?
Oh, the acreage, yeah. It's
Oh, there, let's see, 2.9.
yeah, 2.9. I think with this property, it was probably 4 or something. But it's just the one on the right, which is the access. This is the deeded access to the property, and this property gets access from the deeded access from this property as well.
Yeah, that's why Mr. Hastings bought it, so he could have access into the large parcel.
Mhm.
So now he's got it up for sale.
Yep.
How would we go about trying to get our hands on this property if people are interested in going forward with this?
So
Under what heading would we do it? Open space? It's not really open space. Community, not community
we do it
housing,
under recreation.
recreation.
You know,
Again, I
there-
think before jumping ahead too far, I think we should speak with Donald Khan about it before we even go any further about talking about it.
Well, time's not on our side. That's the issue.
Well, I understand, Joe, but I don't know. I know there was issues with why those sheds had to be torn down, and as far as access goes, we can't just build bridges over that lower portion of it where it's considered wetlands, I believe.
Yeah, but that's a separate issue. This is, we're talking right now, discussing this.
Right,
farm.
the barns and stuff live on the already owned property that the town bought, which is up here. I know you're not looking at the screen, Pete. One day we'll get with you, get you some tech support. But so that's what Pete's talking about. If you guys can see that little square is the barn, some other outbuildings. It's this property here, highlighted in yellow. You know, I mean, I think we probably could do it under the auspice of recreation. I just don't know if we could then use funds to fix the house. Or would we just tear it down? We could use.
Oh, I hate to do that too.
I know. That would be. a
But we
shame.
need parking somewhere.
Right.
Well, Gene's looking for a place. This
That's
could
true.
be the answer to the community center, especially having all that acreage behind it for some of her programs. I don't know what open space has got planned, but it's a town piece of property, and whatever the guidelines under the grant that we got, I don't know if it's doable. So a lot of these questions for Donald can't answer, but can we have like an emergency meeting if possible to move on this kind of quickly, if possible?
Could.
That would probably be a separate Doug, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we probably want to talk to Donald, get his thoughts, but then we would need to talk to Doug and the selectmen to get their input.
Well, I reached out to about 5 people. about the buildings on the property. I didn't discuss the house. And Donald said open space is not in favor of saving the buildings. I don't know if he was speaking on his behalf or for the whole committee, but, you know, I'd like to know why he would want to. I know that was part of the original deal of buying the property, but after seeing the property and people, you know, the building inspector looked at it and said, these are pretty sound buildings, except for 10 to 11 care. I like to try to save them if possible, you know, especially now that we have CPA. In the past, we couldn't save properties. You know, we got the whole bill, the what is it called? The place down at the Little League field, and the building that's Trent House, and the one that was near the high school eventually got torn down because we didn't have funds to keep it, you know, going. Now we have the funds to save some of these historical places, in my opinion. You know, it's up to the taxpayers too. So
Yeah. Well, we need to determine if it is truly, if any of these structures are truly historical. So I think they need to be marked as historical for us to use historical funds.
True.
But I think recreation is a pathway. I think it's important because I know they were talking about, you know, how they were going to essentially register the land. Was it going to be conservation? Was it going to be open space? Was it going to be for recreation? Because there are different laws around that, and then what they can do on it. And that may be the driver. But let's get Donald Kahn. I'm pretty jammed up. Does anyone want to reach out to Donald and try to schedule a meeting? I can be flexible if we're just going to jump on a Zoom meeting. We just need a couple of days notice so we can publish an agenda for the public.
Maybe sometime next week if people are around where it's February vacation.
Yeah, I got some things planned, but I can meet for half an hour to talk about it.
Well, I'm away, but you guys can, if you have enough, you can move forward.
Yeah. The other option too, Joe, is they could have open spaces, a meeting coming up. They, you know, we could piggyback with them.
Do you know when that is by any chance?
Look, over the internet.
I'll bring it up at the Historic Commission meeting. I know Jim Paul's in contact with him. I don't know him enough to know this contact information, but I know Jim does, and see if I can get some kind of ball rolling.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to know if there's any history there, and if it's something that historical would want to, because I think you guys make the decision on whether properties are historical in the town or not, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's pretty subjective, but I mean, what, the house was built in 1890 and town was incorporated 10 years prior. So.
Open space, let's see if they have anything scheduled.
I'm concerned that they're going to get in there and tear it down before we get to talk to them. That's my concerns.
I don't see anything on the book for open space.
Yeah, I would hope. I mean, we just bought the property. I would hope that they wouldn't just randomly tear something down without consulting the various groups in the town. But I get your point that certainly probably has been done in the past. So I'd just be surprised if they left CPA out of the loop for anything with that property, since we contributed to getting the property.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
Joe, do you mind reaching out to Donald to see if you'd be willing to jump on a quick meeting?
Yes, I can. It was tough to get a hold of him when I was trying to. It took me 3, 4, 5 days to get a hold of him, but he eventually contacted me.
I'm shooting out a text to Jim Paul, see what he remembers.
Okay.
So do you need a motion or anything, or?
No, it's just a discussion.
Send a letter to the selectmen, because Mike Laughlin was one of the ones that I spoke to, and he was very interested in possibly saving it. Gene Blaney, Pete, myself, who else did I talk to? Donald Kahn wasn't, Doug wasn't in favor of saving them.
I'd like to defer until we have a conversation,
Okay,
Agreed.
just so we have more information. You know, I hate to write a lot, you know, the idea of it sounds great. You know, I want to preserve as much as I can with this town. But without having more information, I think it's a little premature to send a letter to the Board of Selectmen. That's my opinion. If anyone
well,
disagrees.
I can reach out to Mike and just tell him that we're discussing it, and just keep us in the loop of if anything's gonna happen up there before it happens.
Great. Yeah, and mention that property. It's 831 Beach Street.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on McCarthy? If we get some cold days strung together, I may try to get out there from our mini parking lot. Otherwise, I may have to invest in some muck boots.
Well, let me know. I'll go with you.
All right.
I'd like to go too, actually.
Yeah, if I find a day, I'm going to be up in Maine most of next week. And I know the beginning part of next week is going to be pretty soggy. So, and we had that stretch of, 5 and 10 degree days. It's probably been the ideal time to go. And with all the snow melting, I'm sure, just wetter out there than it's ever been. Maybe you can stab at it. If I do, I'll send you guys an email.
You know, maybe a Saturday or Sunday, where everybody might be able to make it.
The point, though, is if we don't publish it as a meeting, we can't discuss anything. We can only observe.
Correct. Not make any decisions or votes.
Don't speak.
Yeah, we can't even talk about it. We can only look.
But if we plan it, we can put it as a meeting and maybe people
We could.
show
Yeah,
up
we
and
can actually
join.
plan
We
a
can
meeting.
walk around, get some ideas.
Yeah, we could do it that way too.
We'll meet in the barn. We own it now.
Oh, the other person I talked to was Derek, and he was in favor of it too.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Save-
I'm sure he's actually seen that area. From
Yes.
Back in the day too. So. All right. So we'll move on. Invoice discussion. So we wanted to bring this up, as you all know, as invoices for payment come in to the email address, I forward them to Tom so we can act on them. But we did get one that we both agreed we should discuss because it's not typically how we receive invoices. And that was for the Gar Hall.
Yeah. Jim Paul said the reason why is because the people required, deposits for the work being done. And as you may or may not know, the town of Rockland does not pay deposits. So that's why the invoice is paid to the hard stuff post rather than the actual vendor who did the ceiling. And while I can understand the logic of it, I just don't know if this will fly.
Right.
I mean, obviously it's requisition number 3, so the previous 2 must have been paid this way. I don't have the actual copies with me. I don't recall anything this large.
Right.
It just seems unusual. I don't know if it would ever be an issue. I don't want to do one of those Norwell sidewalk lawsuits or anything, but
Right.
it just seemed a bit unusual to me.
So I think where we go from here, I mean, I think I'd be okay paying it if we had some more documentation, if we had a receipt, some other agreement with their deposit agreement with the vendor, something from the vendor, stating what work this is going toward. Because right now it's just, please pay us grant money that you approved.
Did Doug Lapp make any comment on this?
No, it was just to Doug, and Sue, I just sent it, forwarded it along.
What'd you say, Peter?
I didn't say anything.
No, I
Oh.
think that happens with the Zoom sometimes. It happened in the select
Okay.
meeting for Dave Taylor too. It's just like weird.
Yeah,
Would this be a question for the accountant?
that we don't have right now.
I
Well,
would
we
say
got-
we need.
we
need
got
to go
some-
back.
Filling in.
I do know in past history, well, it was with Hearts of Park actually, when we had that bridge built, we were able to, because they wanted a deposit down and we could not do it, but then the accountant did let us, the vendor had the wood dropped off and the beams and some miscellaneous things. And once they were dropped on the spot, we were able to cut a check before the job was done for the materials or some of the materials. So
Hmm.
it has been done in the past, specifically at Hearts of Park.
Right,
I
but
don't
you
know
had an actual invoice for materials that you kind of used as the justification, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had an original, quote for the whole job, and midstream, the vendor wanted, and nothing was said at the beginning, but the vendor all of a sudden said they needed, I don't know if it was 10% or 20%, whatever it was. I said the town doesn't work like that, but I'll talk to the town accountant. And so we were able to give them some money as far as covering the materials once it was dropped on site.
Right.
And yes, there was an invoice to match it.
That's what we're missing here. It's a letter requesting, again, invoice number 3, which represents the total amount of the RCPC grant.
Yeah, that's not good practice paying up before the job's done.
Right. Let me
I think
do
this
this.
is a question for Doug or
Yeah,
temporary.
I think we have to go to Doug because we don't have the town accountant post filled right now, right? I know they're bringing people in, but he's gonna have to direct us who the best person is to discuss with this, and then potentially go back to them and say, this isn't sufficient. We need more documentation.
And I
Tom-
can submit it and it can just get bounced back to us and they'll say, hey, what are you doing? So I don't know. I mean, it's sitting in my bag in an envelope addressed to Sue Ide, so I'll do whatever you want me to.
I would hold off until we get answers. It's not a good practice to pay a bill before the job's done.
Yeah, I agree with Joe. I mean, if this is really the final payment for all the money, we shouldn't be paying it until the job's signed off on.
I don't think it's quite done. Again, I'll talk to Jim Paul at our meeting.
I think if he gives them an invoice, like Pete said, for materials, they should be able to cut that check, and Tom, you should be able to, approve that.
Mhm.
And then when the
If we have
work's
something to bounce it off
done,
of.
yeah. You want a motion or you just,
Well, no, because we don't take motions to pay invoices as long as they've been approved at town meeting. So typically we have this on there, and I've had it on the agenda for the last couple of months because of situations like this, anything that may need to be discussed or potentially had been missed, right? And we just talk about it and say, we need to get this done, or, but it's I think good practice, because we have this, which doesn't fall in line with any invoices I've seen since I've been handling the email, that didn't have any invoice attached to it. We're seeing, police detail slips for the rail trail, invoices for, supplies for the rail trail, invoices for,
Backhoe.
the purchase of McCarthy Farm, right? Like, we knew what all that was. Yeah, the backhoe rental. So it's where it's not really laying out what it's for. I think we need to hold. I don't think we have to make a motion on it because it's not something we typically take motions and approvals on every invoice that comes in.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just seeing if we're all on the same page, which we
that's
obviously
really what
are.
it comes down to, yeah. So I'll reach out to Doug on this, and I'll keep Tom in the loop, and just say, we don't think this is as appropriate to pay in this format, and to request, who can I work with in the accounting office, or who can we work with in the accounting office to request additional documentation?
Is that Serena?
Serena, yeah,
Serena.
Serena Amaral.
Steve, you just threw something out about the rail trail. We had to rent a backhoe.
Wasn't a backhoe, it was one of those invoices, Steve, was for a Bobcat they used briefly.
Bobcat.
They just rented it for, actually their rental place was on Union Street. I don't know where though.
The town highway doesn't have a Bobcat.
Well, this
It's
one
a
had
red-
flames painted on the sides.
Right now it's a red flag to me. It doesn't make sense.
Mini excavator. I think it's because it's the rail trail, Joe. Their excavators are quite large.
Well, Dave can answer it
Yeah.
if need be, but it just doesn't make sense to me that he has all this equipment down at the barn and he doesn't have a small bucket. It's just a red flag to me. That's all.
Yeah, it's I think they're still on budget for this project. I think it makes sense if they go over budget again. It's an item we certainly should bring up if he needs additional funds.
Yes, once we finish this discussion, I like to go into another category of discussion on possible invoices in the future here.
Yeah, we have a business unreasonably anticipated or reasonably unanticipated after this, so we can do that. So I'll email Doug on that invoice for GAR. Ask for more documentation. All right. Next up. All right, that's it. So any other business art reasonably anticipated? Joe, go ahead.
Last meeting I couldn't be on, but I watched it later on that night, and I was very upset with overruns on two projects that Dave Taylor is heading up. And I just couldn't understand why it happened. And I'm concerned about the third project that's coming up. I know we have to get past the two that he's doing that already been started and stuff like that. I understand that. But this third one coming up on the over at Station Liquors, I'm concerned that we're going to have overruns again. So I don't know if it's out of place or whatever, but I like to have him redo his numbers and make sure what he is asking for is going to be correct, so we don't go through overruns again.
Yeah, I mean, he made that comment actually at the last meeting that that project and that price probably wouldn't even be possible. So we obviously, that was years ago that we approved that for that amount of money. And it never started. And this was kind of one of the conversations we had at the meeting was how we can't really use town resources to do some of these projects, because if they get behind or they ask for more money, it really ends up hurting the town. So like that little park has never been started. So obviously, hasn't been completed. And now a couple years later, we kind of already know from Dave that that price isn't going to work anymore. So my thought when I heard that last meeting was that we should take that project back somehow. I'm not sure what the actual process is, but take that money back and cancel that project, and then have them have to submit a new a new application. I mean, and it kind of stinks for us because that was a park for the town. It wasn't like something that like, we didn't want or we don't want, but if it's going to cost double what he originally said bid on, then, or triple, then we're out of luck, because once he starts it, it's going to take another year or two for get more approval of the money, and we'll be 6 years into the project by then,
I
So-
think if he sent us another quote showing the increase or whatever it is, we'd have to see a hard number though. And then we'd have to revote it. I don't think we would have to withdraw it and then have it all submitted again. I think he could just add an amendment to it with the increase, as long as there's a dollar figure there. And then we could vote on it. I might be wrong.
No, I tend to agree with you, Pete. I think, pulling back the park project that the town already voted to approve, it creates more work for us, unnecessarily. I think we're all for that park. It's just, we want better accounting, right?
Yes.
Well, my point is it's not started, and we don't know when it's going to start. So we have, I think, 38,000, if I'm not wrong, for that project 2 years ago, that hasn't started, and we don't know when it's going to start. We anticipate there's going to be overruns.
Like
So
10%.
I don't know. I don't know what we do. I'd rather have it bid out by someone who's going to get the job done tomorrow. I don't know,
I hear what you're saying there too.
because if someone's, if we, and I'm with you guys, I don't want to redo it if we can just put an adjustment on it, but that adjustment means nothing. So,
Right.
because we can't really hold it accountable. So we I'd rather have new bids and get bids from people who can start April 1st and get it done by May 30th, like I said, Dave was very kind and gracious, but he has a full-time job that he has to get projects done. And these are all extra. So that's just my take on it. I don't know what you guys think.
I agree.
Especially with these last two projects, we got supposed to have been 4 lights. We got 2, waiting on new parts. And then the town hall one, he exceeded 100%, 120% on that project, if my numbers are right.
Yeah, thereabouts.
So we're dealing with taxpayers' money. Number one, it's our responsibility to be conservative and protective of that money, so we don't have large overruns that we have to bail someone out because increase of materials, labor cost, etc. I think John is heading down the right road of pulling it back, I guess. And I understand Pete's point of view too, to keep the project going, but he's got too many projects that he's doing. Are we really saving money when he comes back with overruns by having a regular contractor do it?
Right.
I agree with that as well.
So I don't know, maybe the first step is just to ask Dave again, this specific project, does he anticipate, one, being able to even start it or do it? Because I think in the last meeting, he made a comment that he doesn't really have time to start it or anything like that. And he did make the comment, I know he did make the comment that he wouldn't be able to do it for the price that was done. So
Right.
maybe him telling us specifically saying he can't do it makes us bid it out to someone else, and we'll have to deal with the price and probably a new price that people come back with, but hopefully it's reputable where they can get the job done quickly for the price that they quote us.
And I know for a fact, springtime, as far as the park and the highway, That's our busiest times. I know there's no way he's going to be able to fit starting that in the springtime.
Well, we don't know what his schedule is, but he definitely is doing us a favor, the town a favor, by doing the project, but it's not helping us if it's going to take X amount of years and overruns. So I'm kind of leaning towards John's proposal if that's doable.
Well, I don't think it's fair to make a motion on anything without Dave here to represent himself on these projects. I think what we can do is ask him back and ask him to kind of lay out the budgets ahead of us for those 3 projects and say, and ask for timelines on the ADA park. And get his input. Does it make sense to pull this back off of you and rebid it and resubmit it and get competing bids? That makes sense. But I don't think it's appropriate right now as a non-agenda item, but I think it's fair for Joe to bring that up as, he caught himself up on the last meeting and make his thoughts heard. But I think we have to bring Dave back to the table to further conversation.
I agree.
I agree.
Agreed.
Yep.
All right, so we'll plan to add that to the March meeting agenda, and I'll see if I can get Dave, see if the third Thursday at 6:30 works for him, and if not, we'll look for some alternative times and socialize it with the group.
Yeah, that way,
That's fair.
get time to crunch numbers and figure things out. If he's got the time.
Well, I know I think he's the interim sewer superintendent right now as well.
Right. So he's wearing many hats.
Wearing many hats, and it's budget season. And if he can't do March, would you guys be okay waiting for our April meeting on that? It's not like we can't do anything about it now for town meeting. I think we already have a full plate with the articles that need to be written and
We just
approved.
want a shovel put in the ground until he comes in.
Yeah, that's what I'd be worried about. All of a sudden he submits an invoice for something for that project, but I don't anticipate him doing that because he still has to finish off the town hall one.
Yeah.
And in the lights, the ADA lights there.
Yeah, the lights, but I don't know if they're already finished on the initial 2, but he can't do anything till he gets the funds in July for the remaining,
Right.
assuming the town votes for it. But I'll ask him back in March. We'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
All I got.
That's it for me.
We may have to do some additional meetings, just so we can get these articles done and submit, we approve them and submitted over the next month or so, month and a half. Because I think deadlines are coming up on those. So look out for that. I'll reach out to you guys on that just to see where we're at with some of the articles. I think Charlie's going to write the rail trail article. We talked about it in the last meeting.
Steve, I don't know if this is out of order. You can tell me if I am.
Well,
I had a gentleman approach me yesterday or the day before about putting in a rink for rollerblading and possibly skateboard park. And he's trying to figure out where it could happen. And the Bruins are willing to help out with some of this cost. And
Really?
yes, and he's the president, I believe, the president of South Shore Eagles. And, so we were trying to figure out somehow where to try to place it to get these kids interested in hockey, skateboard, to keep the kids off the streets and, doing things. I don't know where we're at with Lincoln School, if the fire station's still going there. stuff like that. I don't know if the neighbors would like it or not. I have no idea. I've just been rattling my brain trying to find a piece of land. He's been riding around town trying to find a piece. It's either he wants to try to keep it close to Abington and Rockland because the program caters to the youth of Abington and Rockland.
Mhm.
So he's looking for property in Abington and Rockland to try to pull this off.
How big does he need?
I'm thinking to have a parking lot, the rink, and a skateboard park. I'm not in this business. I'm saying maybe 4 acres. Unless someone else has an idea. I have no idea.
Maybe figure you need probably about a half an acre for the rink itself, another quarter acre to a half an acre for the skate park, and another, half an acre for parking. So, I mean, you're at least looking at 2 acres. You know, I think of that skate park that used to be by Memorial Park School back in the day, Joe, which is really a postage stamp for, you know, the size of skate parks go. But yeah, I mean, for a rink, it's a rink, right? Any standard size hockey rink. It's
Well,
a
you're
shame
picking up-
Southfield actually had one, a rink, like a roller rink.
You broke up on
Something
that.
anyone- Oh, sorry. Southfield used to have one, a rink back in the day. I think they tore it down, but it was just an open rollerblade rink.
Correct.
Roller rink.
I'm gonna swing by Hanover tomorrow. They finished theirs over by the basketball court and the baseball field there. It's kind of set
Really?
back. You really can't see it from the street.
Okay.
So, check it out anyways.
I think it
But
would be a nice addition.
Yeah, I just can't figure out where to plug it in. Hatsa Park's already slated with the user plan, and now Gene's coming up with another plan. It's just not enough space, and I don't think we can plug it in down at McCarthy's farm because that's open space. So I can't figure it any place except for the airbase off of Spruce Street of
Yeah,
that
we-
parking lot down there.
Why
I
Yeah,
don't think
don't
we
we
can
get
do
the-
anything with them unless Southfield Redevelopment Authority approves it. What were you gonna say, Pete?
No, I was just gonna say, I think maybe we should just do a little homework on it first, get some measurements of a couple other areas and then discuss it at the next meeting. Maybe put it
Well,
on the agenda.
Yeah, he's got to come and make the proposal himself. We can't do it for him.
Yeah, we got
So-
lots of time. I mean, we can't really consider his proposal until next year anyway. But we've got lots of time to look at properties. Parks Department, I know you guys are gonna get additional land at Jefferson, right? That's gonna be all yours to do what you wish. I don't know what the plan is there.
It's already slated for,
You already got it all parceled out?
well, it's supposed to be replacing the football field that we lost down the oval and keeping that little baseball field and playground, I think.
Okay.
That was the idea, not to, once the school went down, we were supposed to put in another practice field there, but I don't know if youth football is going to need it with the new turf field. So there's a lot of ifs.
Okay.
Until we get past the ifs, all we can do is do the best we can.
I'm for it. I think it's great. I thought it was a shame when they tore down that skate park back in the day. I was a kid at the time. I'm for it.
Got one pro out of it, as far as I know.
Yeah, we did. PJ Ladd.
Yeah.
Graduated a year behind me.
Self-millionaire now.
Yep.
With clothing line and everything else.
Yep.
So he's doing good out in LA, as far as I know. My daughter stays in touch with him. All right, motion to adjourn, I guess, if there's nothing else, Steve.
Second,
Second.
All right. Show a motion to adjourn.
Have a good night, everyone.
1 second. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Aye.
Have a good night.
Aye.
All right, how do you leave? Come on. There it is.